Hi, Rezex. How are you? So nice that you can join me tonight in story time. Hi, Lustria Vlogs. How are you? Welcome, welcome. So glad to have you. Who else we got here? Hi, Darren. I see you made it back again tonight for story time. Thanks so much. So glad to have you all join me. Hi, Gigi from Gigi's Gluten Free Lab. Thank you all so much. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my live. I appreciate the fact that you guys stopped by to see me. I don't take it lightly that you stopped by to hear what I have to say. I am so glad that you all are here. I'm so glad that you're here. I hope everyone had a great day. I rested a lot. I consider it still a great day. Anytime I have a pain-free day, to me it's a great day. But any day that we're above earth once more is a great day, because we have the opportunity to work on whatever else it is that we didn't complete or get finished. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Darren says, like Tyrone, but with a D. Oh, Dyrone. Okay, thank you. I need help with that. You know, a lot of times we butchering people's names. Okay, Dyrone, but like Tyrone with a D. Thank you so much for helping me out on that. Thank you so much. Welcome, welcome to my live. If you all haven't already thumbs up, please thumbs up. Most time I forget to say that, and Gigi will jump in there for me. Hi, Frank Lifestyle Channel. How are you? Welcome to my live. Thank you for joining us tonight for story time. So glad to have you. So glad to have you. I set up a couple of minutes early, so for those of you who may have come in a few minutes early, I thank you for your patience. I just tried to go ahead and set up a little bit early because I've been having problems with this Stream Labs lately. And I was trying to see if I wasn't able to get in, if I had to switch over real quick to StreamYards. I don't particularly care for StreamYards, but it gets the job done. Oh, good. Frank Lifestyle says he's good. He was speaking to everybody. Dyrone is speaking to Frank. Yeah, I tell you, these apps. You know, everybody's having problems back and forth, but everybody has their preference of which app they like to use. I prefer Streamlabs over StreamYard. Because to me, on my end, I don't know how it looks on your end when I'm using StreamYard, but to me on my end, it looks kind of fuzzy, gritty like. Plus, it doesn't capture the whole area that I'm sitting in. It kind of chops me off right at the throat, so you don't get to see the fireplace, which people have said is a nice little added touch. So I try to sit by the fireplace when I'm having a pretty decent time. There are times that you will catch me in my bed, in my pajamas, and I've had those lives that I've done so that as soon as I close the live down, I can quickly go to sleep. But I like it better also, sitting by the fireplace telling the story. I'm going to give it a couple of more minutes and then I'm going to go ahead and get started, because like I said, I don't take anybody's time for granted. I don't take your time lightly. I know that we all are content creators. We all have to make our rounds. Aside from create our own content, we have families and other things going on outside of these YouTube streets. So we all have a life beyond that. Some have a lot more going on than I do these days. But the bottom line is, your time is something that is valuable that you can't get back. So I try not to waste anybody's time, and I try not to have mine wasted. So I'm gonna give it about a couple of more minutes, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started with our story. Frank's Lifestyle Channel says, I have watched your story time on my main channel, Frank G TV. Okay. All right, Frank, I appreciate you. I tell you. Dyrone says, honorable family Frank. Oh, okay. He's talking to Frank. Okay. Yes, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And I get excited when it's story time, and especially if I have the character show up that night that I have the story. Had a few people show up during their story time. I don't think anybody tonight that's in the live so far has been featured in a story outside of Frank G, I think I featured you in a story recently, and I know RedX, am I pronouncing that right? I know it was featured in a story a while back, but you all will have to do replay to figure out which story I featured you in. But I think I know for a fact RedX, I think pretty much Frank was featured in one of my stories more recently. But we'll just have to go and see what happens and see who we have in story time. But I especially, like I said, I especially like it when someone from story time actually shows up when they're featured in the story. The story that we're working on now, we've been on this story for, is it 2 days? Gigi, is it 2 days? Or is this the 3rd day? Or is this the 4th day? I can't remember. I get these little brain farts. But I know that we've been on this story for a little bit because, hi 50 plus, how are you? Welcome to story time. I appreciate you stopping by. How was your day? I hope everyone had a great day. But what I was saying is it's a continuation. It's a story that I started, and once I started, I forgot that the story 3 days. Gigi says this is the 3rd day, and I forgot that the story takes off kind of slow. And so once I did it the first day, oh good, 50 says he had a good day. So the first day that I did it, I left it to the viewers, to you guys, to tell me whether I should continue with this story or move on. And everybody agreed continue. It's been a very challenging story for me, and sometimes it actually was getting on my nerves with the character who starts rambling, and the character does a lot of rambling and talking to herself in her head. 50 is shouting out Gigi, gluten-free. And Frank Lifestyle is shouting out to 50. And so it's been kind of challenging for me, for one, to stay focused with it and try to make some changes where the rambling doesn't seem so much like rambling. You know, so this story has really been a challenge for me. And I've had to put in more time into it, tweaking it more than the others. But I think I've been doing a pretty good job with it. At least that's what you all said, and you all wanted to continue with it. So I'm going to just stick with it. And I want to say this particular story has like 11 chapters, and I think we're only up to like 5. So it's going to take a minute to get through. Oh, Vernis, how are you? Welcome to my live. Oh my goodness, you all doing a raid? Don't make me sit here and cry on this camera now. Do not make me cry. How are you? Hi, 96 gal. Oh, wow. Raid for sure. Raid. Oh, thank you all so much. So much. Vernis, I'm going to ask if you could be a mod for me. Is there anything I need to do on my end? Okay, so add you as a moderator. Vernis, if you don't mind, I added you as a moderator for my channel, please. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you all for showing up to raid me tonight. Oh, hi, Melanie, the moderator. How are you? Melody said this is Vernis raid. Oh my goodness, you all are trying to make me cry. That's what you're trying to do. Melanie, the moderator, 50 shouting out Melanie. Welcome. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. If you haven't already thumbs up, please do. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and punch that thumbs up button for me. Melanie says I'm fine, and you? I'm well, thanks, Melanie. I was telling them earlier, any day that I have a pain-free day is a great day, but at the same time, any day I have above earth is a great day, because millions didn't make it today, unfortunately, but all of us here were one of the ones who did. So today is a great day. I just rested all day. I really did, and I stayed in bed. I didn't get out of bed, I don't think, until about 4 o'clock. But I was laying in bed with my computer there and trying to make my rounds through these YouTube streets and support as many people as I could. Um, Frank Lifestyle says, welcome everybody. He's welcoming everybody into the live. Melanie says, hello 50 plus. Hi, Sadie Jeannie. Oh, Sadie's back. Sadie Jeannie. I get especially excited for certain people to show up. Hi, Sadie Jeannie. How are you? So glad you made it in tonight. Melanie is saying amen. 96 girl is throwing out some love to everybody. Thank you all so much. Well, I'm not going to prolong the time. I am going to go ahead and jump into our story. Those of you who are in here first timers, you'd have to go back. This is like our third day on this story. So you'd have to go back and read the story catch the story from the beginning. Sadie Jeannie says, I'm okay. Thanks for having me. No, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much. So for those of you who missed the other 2 days of the story, this is day 3. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. And like I said, you'd have to play the replay. Going at it with the mouse, Aaron Tibbs. And he kind of dismissed her, and then he came back because he originally told her he was going to give her a little bit about his history. But he got offended with her because she kept bringing up her cat and talking about how her cat would eat mice and rat, and her dog would do the same, and birds and all that. So he kind of dismissed her and didn't want to talk to her or deal with her anymore. In the meantime, she's still trying to figure out where she is. Now she's questioning not only where am I, who am I, is this all real? So some of the characters before we talked about, the main characters were the girl, she's called Brooklyn Chick. Then we have the mouse, who's called Aaron Tibbs. We have the rabbit, who's called Hippity Dippity 89. And so we'll move on now with the story. It was Hippy Dippy 89, trotting slowly back around and looking anxiously about as it went, as if it had lost something. And she heard it muttering to itself, the Duchess, oh my dear, pause. Oh my fur and whiskers, she'll get me executed, as sure as ferrets are ferrets. Where can I have dropped them, I wonder? Brooklyn Chick guessed in a moment that it was looking for the fan and the pair of white kid gloves, and she very good-naturedly began hunting about for them. But they were nowhere to be found. Everything seemed to have changed since her swim in the pool, and the great hall with the glass table and the little door had vanished completely. Very soon, Hippy Dippy 89 noticed Brooklyn Chick as she went hunting about and called out to her in an angry tone, "Why, Sadie Jeannie, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan. Quick now." And Brooklyn Chick was so much frightened that she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to, without trying to explain the mistake it had made. "He took me for his housemaid," she said to herself as she ran. "How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. But I'd better take him his fan and gloves, that is, if I can find them." As she said this, she came upon a neat little house, on the door of which was a bright brass plate with the name Hippy Dippy 89 engraved upon it. She went in without knocking and hurried upstairs, in great fear lest she should meet the real Sadie Jeannie and be turned out of the house before she had found the fan and the gloves. "How queer it seems," Brooklyn Chick said to herself, "to be running errands for a rabbit. I suppose Cherry Baby will be sending me on errands next." And she began fancying the sort of thing that will happen. Miss Brooklyn chick, come here directly and get ready for your walk. Coming in a minute, nurse, but I've got to see that Aaron Tibbs doesn't get out. Only I don't think, Brooklyn chick rambled on, that they'd let Cherry Baby stop in the house if it began ordering people around. By this time, she had found her way into a tidy little room with a table in the window, and on it, as she had hoped, there was a fan and 2 or 3 pairs of tiny white gloves. She took up the fan and a pair of the gloves and was just going to leave the room when her eye fell upon a little bottle that stood near the looking glass. There was no label on it this time, but the words "Drink Me" was finely engraved on the bottle. But nevertheless, she uncorked it and put it to her lips. I know something interesting is bound to happen whenever I eat or drink anything around here, so I'll just see what. It did so indeed, and much sooner than she had expected. Before she had drunk half the bottle, she found her head pressing against the ceiling and had to stoop to save her neck from being broken. She hastily put down the bottle, saying to herself, maybe I ought to stop drinking it. That's quite enough. I hope I shan't grow as much anymore. As it is, I can't get out of the door. I wish I hadn't drank quite such more. Alas, it was too late to wish that. In fact, she went on growing and growing, and very soon had to kneel down on the floor. In another minute, there was not even room for this, and she tried the effect of lying down quick enough to put one elbow against the door and the other arm curled around her head. Still she went on growing, and as last resort, she put one arm out of the window and one foot up the chimney and said to herself, this is scary. Now I can do no more. Whatever happens, what will become of me? Luckily for Brooklyn chick, the little magic bottle had now had its full effect, and she grew no more. Still, it was very uncomfortable, and there seemed to be no sort of chance of her ever getting out of the room again. No wonder she felt unhappy. It was much pleasant being at home, thought poor Brooklyn chick, when I was alone and wasn't always growing larger and smaller and being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I almost wish I hadn't gone down the rabbit hole. But truth be told, it's rather curious, this sort of life. I did wonder what could have happened to me when I used to read fairy tales, you see. I fancied this kind of thing would never happen to me, and now here I am in the middle of one. There ought to be, at least there's no room to grow up anymore here, as she rambles on. The Brooklyn chick thought to herself, shall I never get any older down here? That'll be a comfort in one way, to be able to say, oh, you foolish Brooklyn chick, she answered herself, how can you learn lessons in here? Why, there's hardly room for you to grow, and no room at all for any lesson books. And so she went on, taking first one side and then the other, and making quite a conversation of it altogether. But after a few minutes, she heard a voice outside and stopped to listen. Sadie Jeannie, said the voice. Fetch me my gloves this moment. Then came a little pattering of feet on the stairs. Brooklyn Chick knew it was the hippy dippy 89 coming to look for her inside, and she trembled until she shook the house, quite forgetting that she was now about 1,000 times as large as hippy dippy 89 and had no reason to be afraid of it. Presently, hippy dippy 89 came up to the door and tried to open it. But as the door opened inwards and Brooklyn Chick's elbow was pressed hard against it, that attempt proved a failure. Brooklyn Chick heard it say, "I'll go another way. I'll go around and get in through the window." "That you won't do because I'm a step ahead of you," thought Brooklyn Chick. After waiting, she heard hippy dippy 89 just under the window. She suddenly spread out her hand and made a snatch in the air. She didn't get hold of anything, but she heard a little shrink and a fall and a crash of something. It was broken glass, she concluded. It was possible that it had fallen into a cumber frame or something of the sort. Next came an angry voice. It was hippy dippy 89, of course. Sadie Jeannie, where are you?" And then a voice she had never heard before said, "Sure, then I'm here. Digging for apples, Your Honor." "Digging for apples indeed," said hippy dippy 89 angrily. "Here, come and help me out of this." Sounds of more broken glass. "Now tell me, Sadie Jeannie, what's that in the window?" "Sure, it's an arm, Your Honor," she said. "An arm, you goose? Whoever saw one that size? Why, it fills the whole window." "Sure it does, Your Honor, but it's an arm for all that." "Well, it's got no business there. At any rate, go and take it away." There was a long silence after this, and the Brooklyn Chick could only hear whispers now and then, such as, "Sure, I don't like it, Your Honor, at all, not at all. Do as I tell you, you coward." And at last she spread out her hand again and made another snatch in the air. This time there were two little shrieks and more sounds of broken glass. "What a number of cumber frames there must be," thought the Brooklyn Chick. "I wonder what they'll do next. As for pulling me out of the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I don't want to stay in here any more than I have to." She waited for some time without hearing anything more. At last came a rumbling of little cartwheels and the sound of a good many voices all talking together outside the door. She made out the words, Where's the other ladder? Why, I didn't bring it. Bill's got the other. Bill, fetch it here, lad. Here, put them up at this corner. No, tie them together first, because they don't reach half high enough yet. Oh, they'll do well enough. Don't be... They'll do well enough. Hold on one sec. Don't be particular. Here, Bill, catch hold of this rope. Will the roof bear it? Mind that loose slate. Oh, it's coming down. Heads below. There was a loud crash. Now, who did that? It was Bill, I fancy. Who's to go down the chimney? Nay, I shan't. You do it. No, I can't. That I won't do. Bill, how about you? Here, Bill, the master says you're to go down the chimney. Oh, So Bill's got to come down the chimney, has he? Said Brooklyn Chick to herself. Shy, they seemed to put everything upon Bill. I wouldn't be in Bill's place for a good deal. This fireplace is narrow, to be sure, but I think I can kick a little more. She drew her foot as far down the chimney as she could and waited till she heard a little animal. She couldn't guess of what sort it was, scratching and scrambling about in the chimney close above. Then saying to herself, "This is Bill." She gave one sharp kick and waited to see what would happen next. The first thing she heard was a general chorus of "There goes Bill." Then Hippy Dippy 89's voice alone, "Catch him, you by the hedge." Then silence, and then another confusion of voices says, "Hold up his head. Steady now, don't choke him. How was it, old fella? What happened to you? Please do tell us all about it." Last came a little feeble squeaking voice. "That's Bill," she thought. "Well, I hardly know. No more than ye. I'm better now, as you can see, but I'm a deal too flustered to tell you. All I know is something comes at me like a jack in a box, and up I went like a skyrocket." "So you did, old fella," said the others. "We must burn the house down," said Hippy Dippy 89's voice. And Brooklyn Chick called out as loud as she could, "If you do, I'll set Cherry Baby at you." There was a dead silence instantly, and the Brooklyn Chick thought to herself, "I wonder what they will do next. If they had any sense, they'd take the roof off." After a minute or two, they began moving about again, and Brooklyn Chick heard Hippy Dippy 89 say, "A barrel full will do to begin with." A barrel full of what? She thought. But she had not long to doubt, for the next moment a shower of little pebbles came rattling in at the window, and some of them hit her in the face. "I'll put a stop to this," she said to herself, and shouted out, "You better not do that again," which produced another dead silence. Brooklyn Chick noticed with some surprise that the pebbles that hit her in the eyes were all turning into little cakes as they lay on the floor, and a bright idea came into her head once more. "If I eat one of these cakes, maybe I'll catch a break," she thought. She thought she was wise thinking. "It's sure to make some change in my size, and as it can't possibly make me larger, it must make me smaller, I suppose." So she swallowed one of the cakes and was delighted to find that it wasn't a mistake, as she began shrinking directly. As soon as she was small enough to get through the door, she ran out of the house thinking, "This is some more foolishness." She found quite a crowd of little animals and birds waiting outside, and everyone just stood there in surprise at the sight of the Brooklyn Chick. The poor little lizard, Bill, was in the middle, being held up by his ears by two Guyana pigs, who were giving it something out of a bottle. They all made a rush at the Brooklyn Chick the moment she appeared, but she ran off as hard as she could and soon found herself safe in the thick woods. "The first thing I've got to do," said the Brooklyn Chick to herself, as she wandered about in the woods, "is to grow to my normal size again. The second thing is to find my way into that lovely garden. I think that will be the best plan. It sounded like an excellent plan, no doubt, and very neatly and simply arranged without very much planning at all. The only difficulty was that she had not the smallest idea how she could set about it. While she was peering about anxiously among the trees, a breeze caused a little sharp bark to fly over her head. This made her look up in a great hurry as she continued to scurry on. An enormous puppy was looking down at her with large round eyes and feebly scratching out one paw, trying to touch her on the side. "Poor little thing," said Brooklyn Chick in a coaxing tone, and she tried hard to whistle to it, but remembered he was overgrown. She was terribly frightened all the time at the thought that it might be hungry, and in his mind to eat her up in spite of all her coaxing. Hardly knowing what she did, she picked up a little bit of twigs and held it out to the puppy. The puppy jumped into the air from being run over, and the moment she appeared on the other side, the puppy made another rush at the stick, and she cried, "Oh my," as it tumbled head over heels in its hurry to get hold of it. The Brooklyn Chick, thinking it was very like having a game of play with a cart horse and expecting every moment to be trampled under its feet, she ran around the thistle once again, and then the puppy began a series of short charges at the stick, running a very little way forwards each time and a long way back, and barking hoarsely at the stick. At last it sat down a good way off, panting, with its tongue hanging out of its mouth and its great eyes half shut. This seemed to Brooklyn Chick a good opportunity for making her escape. So she set off at once and ran as if in a race until she was quite tired and out of breath, until the puppy's bark sounded quite faint in the distance. "And yet, what a dear little puppy it was," said Brooklyn Chick as she leant against a buttercup to rest herself and fanned herself with one of the leaves. "I should have liked teaching it tricks very much, if I'd only been the right size to do it." She rambled on. "Oh dear, I'd nearly forgotten that I've got to grow up again and get out of here. Let me see, how is it to be managed? I suppose I ought to eat or drink something or other, but the great question is what? I must discover what it is." The great question certainly was what, the Brooklyn Chick thought. She looked all around her at the flowers and the blades of grass, but she didn't see anything as she passed that looked like the right thing to eat or drink under the circumstances. There was a large mushroom growing near her, about the same height as herself, and when she had looked under it and on both sides of it and behind it, she thought to herself that she might as well look and see what else was on top of it. She stretched herself up on tiptoe and peeped over the edge of the mushroom, and her eyes immediately met those of a large caterpillar that was sitting on top with its arms folded, not saying a word. Quietly smoking a long hookah, he sat, and taking not the smallest notice at the fact that she was standing there or anything else. The caterpillar and Brooklyn Chick eventually looked at each other for some time in silence, At last the caterpillar took the hookah out of his mouth and addressed her in a very sleepy voice. "Who are you?" said the caterpillar. This was not an encouraging opening for conversation. Brooklyn Chick replied rather shyly, "I hardly know, sir, just at present. At least I knew who I was when I walked out the door this morning, but I think I must have been changed several times since then." "What do you mean by that?" said the caterpillar sternly. "Explain yourself." "I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir," said Brooklyn Chick, "because every time I open my mouth, I get into a mess of trouble. I'm not myself, you see. No, I don't see. This can't be," said the caterpillar. "It makes no sense." "I'm afraid I can't put it more clearly," Brooklyn Chick replied very politely, "for I can't understand it myself to begin with, and being so many different sizes in a day is very confusing." It isn't said, the caterpillar. "Well, perhaps you haven't found it so yet," said Brooklyn Chick, "but when you have to turn into a chrysalis, you will someday, you know, and then after that into a butterfly. I should think you'll feel it a little queer, won't you?" "Not a bit," said the caterpillar. "Well, perhaps your feelings may be a little different," said Brooklyn Chick. "All I know is it will feel very queer to me, you see." "You," said the caterpillar contemptuously, "who are you to be saying how I would feel?" Which brought them back again to the beginning of the conversation. Brooklyn Chick felt a little irritated at the caterpillar's making such very short remarks, and she drew herself up and said very gravely, "I think you ought to tell me who you are first." "Why?" said the caterpillar. Here was another puzzling question, and as Brooklyn Chick could not think of any good reason, and as the caterpillar seemed to be in a very unpleasant state of mind, she turned away, thinking inside, "This is crazy." "Come back," the caterpillar called after her. "I've something important to tell you." This sounded promising, certainly, thought the Brooklyn Chick, so she turned around quick and came back again. "Keep your temper," said the caterpillar. "Is that all?" said the Brooklyn Chick, swallowing down her anger that felt like a ball lodged in her throat as well as she could. "No," said the caterpillar. The Brooklyn Chick thought she might as well wait, and she had nothing else to say or do, and perhaps after all it might tell her something worthwhile. For some minute it puffed away without speaking, but at last it unfolded its arms, took the hookah out of its mouth again, and said, "So you think you're changed, do you?" "I'm afraid I am, sir," said the Brooklyn Chick. "I can't remember things as I used to, and I don't keep the same size for 10 minutes together." "Can't remember what things," said the caterpillar. "Well, I've tried to say, how does the little busy bee, but it all came different," Brooklyn Chick said to me in a very melancholy voice. "Repeat, you are old Father William," said the caterpillar. Brooklyn Chick folded her hands and began rambling on. "You are old, Father William," the young man said, "and your hair has become very white, and yet you insistently stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right?" "In my youth," Father William replied to his son, "I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, just the same, why, I do it again and again." "You are old," said the youth, "as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault in all at the door." Pray, what is the reason of that? In my youth, said the sage, as he shook his gray locks, I keep all my limbs very supple, using this ointment, 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple. You are old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than sweet. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? In my youth, said his father, I took to it the law and agreed each case with my wife, and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life. You are old, said the youth. One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever, yet you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awful clever? I have answered 3 questions, and that is enough, said his father. Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs. That is not said right, said the caterpillar. You're not quite right, I'm afraid, said Brooklyn Chick timidly. Some of the words have got altered. It is wrong for beginning to end, said the caterpillar decidedly, and there was silence for some minutes. That concludes our story for tonight. I thank you all so much for dropping by for story time. Let's see who I missed that came in. Okay, Scott, Melanie, the moderator. Okay. Oh, hi, Walker fam. So glad that you could stop by for story time. Hi, what is that? Legan Burns. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. So welcome. Hi, IC. So glad you could stop by. Thank you for coming. Hi, try it, buy it, make it, sell it. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for this raid. Hi, Anthony. How are you? Hi, Cute Angie Vlog. Thank you for joining me. Hi, what is that? Vanina Elise. Thank you for joining me in the live. Thank you. Hi, who else I missed? I think that's everybody. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. For those of you who are new to the live, I just want to let you know that I wrote a book, and this is my book. It's called My Struggle and Broken Pieces, A Healing for My Soul. And my book is available on Amazon, and I will eventually in the near future be reading excerpts from my book. So I'm doing these little stories leading up to story time. That's why I call them a prelude to story time, because I'm doing these little stories to give people time who may be interested in purchasing my book. So it'll give them time to go on Amazon and order it. Also, if they're out, they'll order it for you if you just put your order in. That way, once I start reading from my book, then you could read along. These little cute stories, like I said, I'm using them as a prelude leading up to that. But also, I use these little cute stories as my shout outs. The characters in the story are you, the YouTubers. You may be featured in the story as either a person, place, or a thing. Let's see. Try it, buy it, make it says, was that another version of Alice in Wonderland? Yes. And hi, Miriam Lamsey 562. I don't know how long you've been in the live, but we've just ended the story, and we'll continue on with it tomorrow. So like I said, I feature you guys, the YouTubers, in my stories. You'll either be in the story as a person, place, or a thing, depending on how your name is. There's no rhyme or reason. I just put the names in according to how the story is flowing and what's taking place and what the character's doing and how I can fit the names in. I'm excited, especially excited when I see that one of the people featured in the story time shows up to story time that night. And tonight, Sadie Jeannie was featured in the story. And she was here the other night in story time, sitting in with us, but tonight she happened to be featured in story time as well. So I get especially excited. I got excited the minute I saw that she walked through the door, knowing that she was going to be able to hear her name, along with everybody else's names who's shouted out. Some of the people who've already been featured in the stories is Vernon's Junk Closet, 50 Plus, him and his wife. Green Organic Love was featured in the very first story. Cindy was featured in a story not very long ago. Frank G was featured in a story, I'm pretty sure. Simply a Sweetheart. Gigi's from Gigi's Gluten Free Lab. Chef and More has been featured in maybe 2 stories. But you would have to go back to see which story you're featured in. But like I said, it's no rhyme or reason. It's just all about how the story is flowing and what the person's name is. Hippie Dippy 89 was featured in this story, and Hippie Dippy 89 was also featured in a previous story. We had Seven Lex Fairy. She was featured in a couple of stories. Simply a Sweetheart, like I said. Heaven Sent. So quite a few YouTubers are featured in the stories. I did have a couple of book giveaways, and I'm going to have a couple of book giveaways in the near future too. I had them to simply see if they could guess the amount of characters that were in a story. I had a story one night that had like 54 characters in it. And I asked whomever could guess the amount of characters or come as close to that number would win a book. And so that's how I was doing my giveaway. Do I have any birthdays in the house tonight? Usually if I have a birthday, I'll do a birthday song for you. Any birthdays in the house? I know I had some people who had been in a couple of the story times before who said it was their birthday. The other day it was Fine as Wine Cooking. It was his birthday. And I usually give you an option of birthday songs. Marilyn Monroe, the typical boring birthday song, the 2 Live Crew version, and what was the other version I give you? Oh, Stevie Wonder version. And so him and I think it might have been Simply a Sweetheart. They had birthdays like a few days apart or something like that, a week apart. And it was so funny that they both picked the same song. They both wanted to hear the Marilyn Monroe version of Happy Birthday. But then you have people like Gigi and Anthony trying to cheat and saying it's his birthday when he knew it wasn't his birthday because they wanted to hear the 2 Live Crew version of the Happy Birthday. So I told him no, I wasn't going to do it because I knew it wasn't his birthday. I said I'd wait till someone's birthday and then I'll do it. So no one has any birthdays in the house tonight. Okay, so I can't do any birthday shout outs tonight. So I know I had 2 people early in a live. Like I said, they said their birthday was in February. The one person was a leap year baby, so I know that's not until February 29th. So I know that person's not in here tonight. Then we had Fine as Wine Cooking, who was trying to get another birthday song, saying he wanted to get it by any means necessary, saying he was born on 2 days. He was born the night I was singing his birthday song and the day before. And I was like, how do you do that? How do you work that out? Is it that the feet came out first at like 11:59 and then the rest of your body came out at midnight? And he was just trying to get a birthday song any means necessary. But yeah, I usually do a birthday song. But I thank you all so much. Vernon, and you all came over and rated me. I am just overwhelmed with joy. The minute I saw you all doing that raid, oh man, the tears just started welling up in me. You do not know how grateful I am. It's the little things in life. You know, a lot of times we think it's the big things, but it's the little things. And you know, to tell someone that you appreciate them or to show someone that you appreciate them, more so to tell them, is one of the hardest emotions that you can express. And I do appreciate you all from the bottom of my heart. And I'm just as happy whether I have one person sitting in or all of you guys equally, because that person or those persons thought enough to think that I had something that was worth listening to. So I appreciate you all. I don't take it for granted. I thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope that you enjoyed the story. Like I said, this story has been very challenging for me. It starts slow. I'm doing the best I can with it, but I think just based on your attendance and stuff, that I'm doing a pretty decent job with it. And I was so glad that somebody, who was it, that just came in tonight, picked up on what the similarities was with the story. And like I said, the story has been getting on my nerves with all her rambling, but I think I've been doing a pretty decent job with it, and I decided to stick with it since it was the people's choice. But hopefully we'll get through it in a couple of more nights, and hopefully soon we'll get to the meat of it. With her, still trying to figure out who am I, where am I, because now she's not only questioning where am I, she's questioning who am I. Vernon says, no problem. Jesus says you're doing a great job. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you so much. Sadie Jeannie says you're awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm doing the best I can. And like I said, your overwhelming responses to these story times tells me that I must be doing something okay. And I appreciate you all. I really, really do, from the bottom of my heart. And I was just so excited when I saw Sadie Jeannie walk in the door. And the characters, like I said, some of the characters that are in here. And I'm sure as we progress in the story, we're going to pick up new characters. Because right now we have Brooklyn Chick, who's the main character. We have the rabbit, who's Hippy Dippy 89. That's who Hippy Dippy 89 and the character is, a rabbit. We have Aaron Tibbs, who is a mouse. We have Sadie Jeannie, who is the assistant to Hippy Dippy 89, the rabbit. We have, who else did we have? I think that was about it in terms of the characters so far. But then we have the caterpillar here, which I haven't named, and I may or may not name the caterpillar as we move on. But I know based on the story, there's a lot more characters, so I'll be able to pull in some more YouTubers' names and just move forward with that. And I'm just having a good time. I'm just having a good time with these different stories. I'm having a great time with story time with you all. I'm just having a good time, and I get excited. I get that extra boost of energy every time I'm ready for story time. I went ahead and set up a little early tonight because the last couple of times I had a problem with my stream on Streamlabs and had to switch over and download StreamYard to my computer, so I was a little late getting started. So this time I said I'll hook it up a few minutes early and just let people come on in and have their seat, watching the fire, and have their seat while they're waiting for me to get situated and sit down and grab my tea and all that sort of stuff so that I could be in here with you all. So whoever came in early, and I think ResX was probably one of the first people in my live. And for those of you who came in ahead of time, I appreciate you. I wasn't trying to waste anybody's time, but just trying to make sure that my stream was set up timely, and in case I had to shift gears really, really quick with getting set up for my story time. But as I said earlier, my preference is Streamlabs to StreamYard, because Streamlabs allow you all to see a greater part of me, as well as the fireplace in the background, where StreamYard chopped me off right at the neck because I have to do it from my laptop, and it just cuts me off right at the neck, so you all don't get to see the fire. It didn't matter to me that you all didn't get to see the rest of my body, as long as you could see my full face while I'm talking to you. But I did want you to capture the fireplace in the background. I wanted you to capture that. But for those of you who missed the story but you still came in and hung with me, I thank you so much. Hopefully you can go back and do the replays. Like I said, this is like day 3 of this story. Hopefully you can do the replays and get caught up. And hopefully you'll go back and revisit some of the other stories that I've already shared. This is our like 16th story. And we're going strong. And I committed to do this at least an hour every night. I don't know if I'm going to continue at that pace in the near future, but right now that's what I've committed to based on how I'm feeling. And that could possibly change down the line. It could change from every night for an hour to every other night for an hour, because I have to at some time get rest, because when I'm not live, I'm still trying to just manage me and other things, manage these different doctor's appointments, and also make my rounds through these YouTube streets to support all of the people out there that I need to support, and especially those who support me. And right now, you know, we're all going through that crunch time, running these lists and all kinds of things, and I'm running 3 things at a time on my laptop, and subscribing and watching videos on my cell phone. So it's a lot going on. And I know that I'm not the only one there. We're all doing it. And I want to give a special congratulations again to Vernon. Got monetized. Yay, Vernon's got monetized. Beautiful, beautiful. So happy for you, Vernon. So happy for you. And anybody else who, congrats to anybody else who just reached their monetization. You know, I know it's got to be an exciting moment, because to reach that hurdle, I know we have to put a lot into it. I try it, buy it, make it, sell it is clapping up Vernus. And I know it's a lot, because I didn't realize how much it was. You're quite welcome, sis. GG's congratulating Vernus. I really did not realize how much work YouTube was. And see, I kind of just jumped in both feet without really knowing a lot about it. And having my girl Gigi coach me along the way and motivate me on days when I don't really feel like it, especially when we hi Latrice, is it Latricia Vlogs? How are you? So glad you could join me in the live. I don't know if you were in and out before or whatever, or if you caught the story, but we're done with the story time. But it's our 3rd night of this story, and I'll be picking back up on it tomorrow. So it's going to take us a few more nights with this particular story, but I'm so glad that you came in. And I jumped in both feet, like I said, not really knowing what it was all about, not even really thinking about monetization. You know, it was just to share glad tidings, good news, anything that's good news, whether it's just to sing happy birthday to somebody, or whether it's just to read my story, or whether to share the word, which I have a gospel section. You could check that out. You know, that was my objective. And then once I jumped in, you know, I realized how much work it was. And I commend you all. Anybody on here, you know, in these YouTube streets that have families, you have husbands, wives, children, jobs, and all that kind of stuff, I commend you. I commend you all 100% plus, because because of my disability now, I'm not at work right now. But with the hours that I put into the YouTube streets, it consumes your life. And I did not realize that. So you all to have all of that other stuff still going on, and still being able to be content creators, and still being able to meet that milestone and reach that monetization, that's an awesome thing with all that you have going on. Because sometimes I get so tired, I be like, do I want to continue this? You know, but I think it's something about when you enjoy what you do. It's almost like that job you're on. When you're on your job and you like what you do, no matter how challenging it gets, no matter how much it pulls out of you, no matter how draining you get trying to stick with it, it's the love for that thing that keeps you going. It's the love for that thing that keeps you motivated. It's the love for that thing that keeps you striving. And I really believe that each and every one of you that are here because you love what you do. not necessarily because of the monetization. Monetization is good. Money is good. The word of God says money is the answer to all things. However, it's a large price associated with reaching that point of monetization. And you gotta love what you do. Because I think about me myself, and I can only think about me myself with, you know, the fatigue and different things I have going on besides YouTube's. If I had to just say I was doing it just for the money, then I would have to say no, because the money isn't worth what it pulls out of me to make Storytime nights possible, or any of the other content I create. So it's a wonderful thing, and I know that you all gotta love what you do. Aside from trying to reach that goal of big monetize, you love what you do. And I really believe if you didn't, you wouldn't be here. But anyways, I'm not going to hold you all and prolong the night, because like I said, I only committed to a night. And I know I got some things I got to take care of and get done before I turn in. And I know you all have to do the same. And I just want to thank you again so much from the bottom of my heart for coming in to Storytime and joining me tonight. Always remember, until we meet again, may his peace be with you. And always remember, I have a will to live. Love you all. Good night.